Brennan, are you ready to hit record?
I'm recording.
All right.
Okay. Today, Laura, Jean, and I will be talking about why the driving age should be raised to 18. As you may know, people tend to think that 16-year-olds are irresponsible and not really experienced enough to drive. And they're right. They're too young and are too absorbed in social media to be driving. So, by raising the age to 18, the amounts of crashes will decrease significantly because of digital distraction. Okay, and then I have a first one. Okay, so as you can see that 32% of people think that teens are inexperienced, which is why it should be raised to 18, and they're reckless and don't care and they're too young and they speed too much. So driving age should be raised that way. It doesn't happen as often. Okay, the static driving age started in the early 1900s. As cars became more popular in the 1920s, states generally set arbitrary age restrictions by which a person should be licensed to drive, according to the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety. In 1921, Connecticut was the very first state to allow a person who is 16 or older to drive accompanied by somebody who has a license. Between 1919 and 1937, 15 states enacted minimum age requirements, with 9 allowing 16-year-olds to obtain licenses. By the early 1940s, most states had approved 16 as the minimum age. The law of a person being able to drive at 16 has been around for so long, which in that period of time, there's been so many crashes and so many people have died. So the driving age should be raised to 18. That way, not as many people die each year. Thank you.
Nice. You're right at 2 minutes. Perfect.
Hi, I'm Riley, and this is my teammate Natalie. Now, I have a couple of questions. If your neighbor robs a bank, should you go to jail? No. If your classmate gets in an accident, should your license be taken away? Of course not. Why should we pay for others' mistakes? We shouldn't. Driving is the same way. Why raise the age for the mistakes of a few? Driving ages have been switched all around in the past. Only in the 1920s, states set age restrictions on driving. Detroit was the first city to use stop signs, traffic lights, and lane markings in around 1900. One family had their 11-year-old son drive them around. That's like us driving now. 14-year-olds often drove light truck delivery wagons. Crash rates were off the charts. But 16 is a much more appropriate age to drive, for the responsibility level is much higher. My team and I are against raising the driving age to 18 years old because how would teens get around if their parents were at work or sick? What if teens have a job to get to? These are real problems that many families already have to deal with. Raising the age would just make it worse. We believe that the driving age is perfect where it is.
Good job.
Hello, my name is Lauren. We would like the driving age to be raised to 18. This will make it safer and will get rid of some problems. Our first reason for raising the driving age to 18 is that it could help with the teenage obesity problem. The driving age helps with this problem because if kids 17 and under can't drive, they walk, ride a bike, a scooter, etc. They are exercising while going from place to place. Another reason for the driving age to be raised is that it will lower accident rates. For example, high-speed thrills are often a part of the teenage driving experience. When kids up to 18 can't drive, teenage accidents won't occur as often, as high-speed thrills won't occur as often. I have a chart here of how many teens have reported that they've seen these things. As you can see, the driver is speeding. 92% of teens have seen teenage drivers speeding. And then teenage drivers have seen 59% of the time. Drivers in a hurry, 91%, and drivers testing speed, 62%. Our third reason is many teenagers make mistakes. They can look away for a second, or they may get tired, but they don't stop driving. This results in them falling asleep or their brain getting foggy, which puts them at risk of a car crash. Our fourth reason is most teens are subject to text while driving. When texting and driving, teens and adults are put at risk of getting into a very serious accident. Teenagers aren't as responsible, so they are more prone to answer a text or a call. This is the chart of the cell phone use and how many teenagers have seen other teenagers driving. Driver on a cell phone, 89%. Driver upset on their phone, 71%, and the driver using handheld devices. The driver on their phone is 89% because many teens don't understand that when you're texting while driving, you can get into a serious car crash, get very injured, or die. Thank you.
I'm Riley, and our first reason for not wanting to raise the driving age is that if teens have after-school activities and the driving age is 18, then how would they get there? Parents do so much for us already, so why add driving us around to their long list? They put food on the table, they pay the bills, they take care of us when we get sick, and they have a job to keep a roof over our heads. Now, are we going to add driving teens around everywhere they need to be, such as after-school activities, work, school, etc.? Parents have spent at least 15 years chauffeuring us everywhere. Why should they do it for 2 more years when we are perfectly capable of doing it ourselves? If you're responsible to have a job at age 16, then surely you're responsible enough to get yourself there. Our second reason is that no matter how old you get, there will be accidents, from one little tap on the bumper to a full-blown demolished car. It doesn't matter how bad the accident is. The point is that every age gets accidents. This chart shows that ages 20 to 24 show more accidents than ages 16 through 19. It's not just teens. Adults do it too. Age is not the problem, responsibility is. Our third reason is that 18-year-olds will be inexperienced with driving. Once you are 18, you're officially an adult. You'll want to leave the safety of your home to buy your own house, go to school, and or get a job. You won't want to have to put that stuff on hold so that you can be taught how to drive a car by your parents. As you age, it gets harder and harder to pick up the correct skills and habits. If you learn at 16, then your parents can answer questions, set good examples, and pass on driving experience. Once you turn 16, do you just take a test without any prior experience? No. Parents take kids to empty parking lots at 15 all the time to teach us basic skills we need. At age 18, kids will not want to take the time to practice driving in a parking lot. Our fourth reason is that if a teen values their driving privilege, then they will respect the rules of the road. Do kids like to be denied candy? No. They will cry and scream until they get some. Do teens like being denied driving? I'm positive they don't. If they don't want their license to be taken away, they won't do anything wrong. Besides, 16-year-olds are more likely to learn, for they want to drive themselves around, be out in the world. When an 18-year-old is allowed to drive, they think they're adults now, so they don't have to listen. Teens who value their privilege won't abuse it. Our fifth reason is that when you learn early, you will have more experience later on. When you begin to drive at 16, by the time you turn into an adult age at 18, you will have had 2 years experience already. Practice makes perfect, and 2 years is pretty good practice time. Teens will be more street smart and prepared for the road as they get older. Would you rather go out into the world on your own as an experienced driver or one just learning how to drive? Here's Natalie with the rest of our reasons.
Oh yeah, so you're still second speaker.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna keep the time going.
Our sixth reason why the driving age shouldn't be raised is because it's good for teenagers to develop a skill at an early age. At this age, most teens are still respect parents, teachers, etc., who are trying to teach them valuable life lessons. When teens hit 18, they think, oh, I can move out now, I get to drink, stay up late playing video games, or whatever. At 16, let's face it, even though they don't realize it, they want and need to learn. At 16, their brains are as developed as an 18-year-old. That means both brains still have a lot more space to be filled. It is proved the brain has successfully finished developing at the age of 22. Our seventh reason why the driving age should not be raised is because parents shouldn't have to drive their kids around because, believe it or not, parents also have lives. Parents have other things to do such as work, cooking dinner, helping siblings with homework, even getting the well-deserved break they've been planning for years.
It's like me when I sleep.
Also, they might be tight with money, and it's just wasting gas and money having to cater everyone around 24/7. Lastly, maybe the parent's schedule doesn't match the child's, and where the heck is the 16-year-old going to go if the practice is miles away and no parents are around to cater them to and from practice? Our eighth and final reason why the driving age shouldn't be raised is because it doesn't matter how smart or dumb, serious or silly a person is. It depends how mature they are in the situation. Really, if a 6-year-old was more mature than an 18-year-old in the situation, I would trust the 6-year-old driving me around more than the 18-year-old. Also, the more a person concentrates on the subject, the more educated the person becomes on the subject. So, for example, if you really love social studies and you're studying social studies really hard, there is a really big chance you're going to get a good grade on social studies because you studied hard for it, you're concentrating in it, and you love doing it. So, lastly, the teens are hopefully mature enough to understand that driving is a privilege and that if they abuse the privilege, they will lose it. Thank you.
6 minutes and 30.
Hello, my name is Janie. My fellow teammates and I are on the pro side, but the driving age should be raised to the age of 18. Statistics show that there are more accidents involving 16 and 17-year-old drivers. In comparison to 18 to 16, it's almost 16-year-olds have almost double the amount of crash rates compared to 18-year-olds. Now, it's also not only about teens that we want to worry about, it's also we have to worry about the victims of the accidents. Teenagers are not quite mature in the field. they have a tendency of driving recklessly or under the influence. This causes accidents and death that did not need to occur or be easily avoided. And this shows.
Can you turn the knob on it so we can zoom in? Yeah, right there. Good. Zoom in closer, and then you might have to move it, but yeah, and keep zooming. We're blind.
And this shows that in inexperience there's 49%, in speed 32%, drug related 10%, alcohol related 9.96%. And this is just about how much they drink, nothing else. 46.9% is drunk, 19.6% slightly buzzed, and not drinking is 33.4%. That's mature. And one time there were two 16-year-olds, and they were street racing just on the open road, and one of them, they ended up crashing, and one of them died. And even though they were both in the pursuit of cops, they still continued their actions and just completely ignored it. They were both reckless and not mature enough to realize that they were putting themselves and other people in danger. Have you known anyone that has been in an accident under the age of 18? Or was it from drinking, being slightly buzzed, or maybe from neither? It is things like that that causes many teens' deaths and other people's deaths. You decide, are you with the driving age should be raised with 18 or against it? Thank you.
Okay, good. Can you stop that recorder? And then we'll pick up here.